Thank you, President Gross, Commissioners. Clint, thank you for having me today. Just going to go over some basic safety protocols. If you do need to evacuate the building, we're going to use the exit right here. That's going to take you into the hallway. From there, there are 2 stairwells at the end of the hallway. Those will take you down to the ground floor. In the center, there are elevators. Once to the ground floor, we will move to the parking lot over here underneath the 408 and wait for further instructions. Be advised, in the event of a fire, the elevators will not work. If we do need fire extinguishers, they are located in the hallway in cabinets. Just pull them off the cabinet, pull the pin, aim, and squeeze. If we do have a medical emergency, I will assist as needed. If it's beyond first aid, we will initiate 911. Letitia Thompson will make that call. If first aid, if CPR is needed, I will provide that service, and Andrew Walters will assist me. The first aid kit and the AED are located in the closet here. There are also additional units across from the elevators. At any time during an emergency event, you may be asked to assist. If you are unable or unwilling, please let us know and we'll move on to somebody else. If there are no other questions, that's all I have for you today.
Thank you for that.
Thank
you very much. All right, it's now 2:01, and I'd like to call the OUC budget workshop to order. I'd like to acknowledge that we have a quorum present today. Present this afternoon, and Mayor Dyer will be participating via telephone. Before we begin, please note that if any members of the public are here today to address the Commission regarding the budget workshop, we'll provide an opportunity for public comment at the end of the workshop. So please stay until that time if you'd like to speak regarding the workshop. Mr. Bullock, I'll turn the workshop over to you now.
Great. Thank you, President Gross. I'm going to ask Mindy Bernay to come up to the podium, our CFO, to give you an overview of the workshop. I will just make one thing clear on the beginning. We will not be approving or taking any board action here today. That'll all happen in August based on feedback from the board. So with that, Mindy, I'm not going to take away any of your storyline. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Clint. Good afternoon, Commissioners, President Gross, Mayor Dyer on the phone. I will do my best to highlight the page numbers for you. Welcome to the 2024 Annual Budget and Pricing Workshop. I'm trying. Oh, now I'm probably clicking too quickly. Okay. So I have a brief agenda here to walk through so you can understand the cadence of which we put the presentation together. Start with the Connected 2025 strategic plan, and then the key drivers and the economic influences that we incorporated in the budget. We'll then move on to the operating budget and capital plan. Really, OUC, we've talked about this several times. Our pricing is designed off a cost recovery model. So we thought we'd start with the costs first, and then cascade into the prices because the costs really drive our pricing, and then followed by the revenues because it is a direct translation of our pricing, and then a summary of the next steps. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Francis. Okay, you've seen this slide before. This is our Connected 2025 strategic plan. On the bottom layer on the chart on the right, we really go and call out the strategic roadmaps, our path to clean energy and alternative water sources, our innovation and growth, business transformation, and then key foundational strategic initiatives that support each of these roadmaps. All of those key strategic roadmaps all cascade up to the three key strategic stakeholder pillars: our customer, employee, and community. And each of those cascade up to support our mission and our vision. You've seen this before, but wanted to make sure you recognize that all of our financial plans are aligned to the strategic initiatives and the strategic pillars. When it came to putting the 2024 operating budget and capital plan together, we really considered the following key economic drivers: rising operating costs from inflation, supply chain and labor constraints, all played a very key role, and we'll talk more about those. Our benefit plan valuation changes. We have a 9/30 fiscal year end. The markets did not go well on 9/30, but they have since rebounded. Interest rates have risen, and then on the very favorable side, we have seen fuel costs come down. So We will be incorporating each of these components in the operating budget and the capital plan. And again, our price, it's not working for me today. The prices are designed based on a cost recovery model, really always looking how we can provide our customers with price stability and support sustainability, reliability, and innovation. Mayor, we're moving forward to slide 5.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll talk a little bit here about the cost recovery overview. This is the operating budget. Overall, we're seeing costs come down a little less than 5%, really primarily driven by fuel. I mean, we have about an 18.5% decrease in our fuel costs, and we'll talk more about that on the second slide that follows this. About a 46% decrease in our net non-operating, and that will require a little more conversation so you understand what makes up those drivers, and then a little less than a 6% increase in our operating expenses. So we have crossed the $1 billion mark, but it is coming down. Again, fuel is a very key driver there. Oh, is it? Oh, no wonder why it wasn't working for me because I didn't have it on. Thank you, Paula. Okay. So looking closer at fuel, we have talked a lot about fuel, and hopefully in 2024 we will talk a lot less about fuel because we have experienced some volatility around the commodity costs, but we are seeing them stabilize. This is the only chart that we have included 2022 on the right to really show what has happened to us in the last 2 years. We spiked at about 444 million, and then we are proposing to come down to about 313 million in 2024. Again, natural gas commodity prices have come down, coal transportation issues have eased, but we are also seeing the indications of a recession into 2024. So we have incorporated a slight decline in consumption for our commercial customers in general. So it's about a 2.8% decrease in consumption that we're forecasting given the threat of a recession. Also wanted to highlight the strategies that we had in place before the spike in fuel costs. We have continued to maintain that rigor, and we continue to maintain that today. So we economically dispatch our energy resources dependent on the most economical resource that we have. We execute both long-term and mid-term fuel and coal transportation agreements, really look at our hedging program, which is a direct report to the Audit Finance Committee, and our fuel reserves also incorporated in our accountability to the Audit and Finance Committee. So all of those strategies remain in place, all designed to keep our fuel prices stable and really insulate the customer from the volatility when possible. And again, fuel, absolutely a pass-through. And so, we are always trying to maintain stability on behalf of the customers. When it comes to unit department expenses, we are seeing about a 10% increase here, and that is driven off several of the key factors I highlighted in the opening slide that shared supply chain, labor constraints, really driving these price increases. And Mayor, we are on slide 8. When we look specifically at labor, we're seeing a little less than an 8% increase in this cost classification. Again, we are looking to fill vacant positions. We have had more vacant positions than we've had historically. Again, the labor market has changed post the pandemic. So we're not sure where everyone has gone, but we're not the only one that has experienced this labor challenge. And then, of course, that puts wage pressure to really get strong, qualified candidates to fill our roles. We have seen some pressure from, again, the benefit changes, but we look to smooth those out over the long term. On the other side of maintenance costs, we are seeing about a 14.5% increase there. Again, it's our contractors experiencing the same thing that we are experiencing, and also some of the supply chain issues that we've talked to you about, whether it's transformers, cable, wire, PVC piping, all of these commodities and costs are rising on us. And then the commodities that support our minority plants and the chemicals that are needed to run our operations, also seeing some price increases. Moving on to slide 9. Here we'll talk a little bit about depreciation, other payments, and net non-operating. The biggest change on excluding the net non-operating is depreciation expense. And here we're seeing the energizing of Unit 1 at OGS, the Osceola Generating Station, coming online. We also continue to support and target the accelerated depreciation around Unit 1, Stanton, and then the gas conversion for Unit 2. And then also we have in early 2024, we look to be opening the St. Cloud Operations and Maintenance Center. Again, those are new assets, maybe not the acceleration on the Stanton units, but Unit 1 for OGS, a full year of Unit 2, and then as we move into opening the Operations Center at St. Cloud. When it comes to net non-operating, this is a mixed bag of items, and so it'll take me a little bit of time to walk through this here. And that is, the easiest one is the net decrease in interest expense, right? So while our interest expense has come up, all of our debt, I won't say all, I would say 95% of our debt is issued at fixed rate debt. So really that doesn't move when the market is moving. What is moving is the earnings that we get off our cash and reserves. So we are seeing a little bit of a relief because our reserves are earning more money. That is inclusive of the new debt we have issued. So really seeing just a little bit of a windfall there. We are seeing the regulatory action that you approved in 2019 related to the decommissioning of the MAC 3 plant. We are seeing the final leg of that. And so while we have been budgeting around $12 million a year, in 2024 we'll be able to take that down to $6 million based on projections and a little bit of acceleration we've been able to do in prior years. And then finally, we are seeing about just a little shy of 60%. Here's where it gets a little complicated because it's accounting. Some of the capital costs around our backup generation facilities and our chilled water facilities that are our customer sited that have capacity charges, accounting wise, these revenues need to be recorded as non-operating expenses, where the consumption is reported as operating. These lease amortization charges, based on the definition in generally accepted accounting principles, need to be recorded down here. So the energizing of the second of the universal chilled water site is really driving this 57% increase. So a full year of GOA, because we started last year on November 1, we've got a full year of GOA, and then we have universal coming online. So those mitigate the growth in net non-operating expenses. I know it's a little bit complicated, it's accounting, but we have to follow the rules. Moving on to slide 10, here we'll talk a little bit about the capital plan. And the 5-year capital plan, we are seeing about a 31% increase in our capital plan. Yes. It makes the CFO go, That's a pretty big increase. Again, a good portion of this is driven by supply chain and inflation. When we look back in 2022, inflation was just shy of 8%, and this year, close of 2023, we're looking at about 3.5%. So that cascades into the capital plan along with the supply chain constraints. Also talk a little bit about the growth on the core operations, but about 36% of the capital plan is really focused on the strategic roadmaps, the path to clean energy, path to alternative water sources, business transformation, and then our innovation and growth. The remaining portion is around our core operations. And actually, I was talking to my husband, I was trying to explain it to him, and I said, it's kind of like our grid has to expand from a 2-lane highway to a 4-lane highway to meet the needs of the future, whether it be electrification, whether it be a bidirectional grid. So we are taking those steps now to plan for the future so we can accommodate all of that change that we see in front of us. And that includes grid hardening, resiliency, the increased impact and intensity of weather. All of those things are really falling in our core operations classification. So that's why you're seeing such a big change in there. Of course, my husband wasn't terribly excited, but okay. He has to listen to this a few times. On slide 11, we'll really talk a little bit more about the path to clean energy and alternative water sources. It represents just shy of 19% of the capital plan. And really, this is all part of the evolution of the grid for us. The generation portfolio changing, and included in here are land acquisition, the transition of coal to natural gas, the upgrading of our generation facilities, converting these, and energy storage and other emerging technologies. On the transmission side, we have about $72 million allocated in the capital plan for the connectivity of the utility scale solar farms to the Osceola generating facility. And then on the distribution side, we've got about just shy of $13 million for expanding meter capacity and supporting a bidirectional grid. And then for water, it's about $76 million within the 5-year plan to support the alternative water sources project, which includes the lower aquifer that we've talked to you about, along with regional partnerships on the Taylor Creek and some other of those initiatives around finding alternative sources of water. On the innovation and growth side, we've got about 17% of the capital plan, and I am on slide 12, Mayor.
Gotcha, thanks.
You're welcome. On the innovation and growth and business transformation, about $281 million allocated for this portion of the 5-year capital plan. In the customer and employee-facing digital transformation, we have a good amount of funds allocated for the next evolution of our automated meter system. And so that represents a good portion of this. We also have enhancements for the customer in here, as well as some modernization of back office administration functions. We continue to build out the St. Cloud Operations Center. What we have going live is phase 1. This $84.4 million represents phase 2 through 4 in the 5-year capital plan, which includes our substation, but it does not include any contributions that we are anticipating getting from St. Cloud, whatever form of value that comes in. We are actively talking with St. Cloud about that partnership to join our site. On the non-traditional products and services, we have allocated about $58 million, and that includes energizing another customer-sited chilled water facility, and then commercial electrification, EV initiatives, along with new products and services. When it comes to the core operating plan, which is about 65% of the capital plan, 71% of that is on electric. And that really is around that reliability, resiliency, and storm hardening of our grid. On the energy delivery side, transmission represents a good portion of this. It used to be generation that was the lion's share of our capital plan. That has changed over the last several years, and transmission represents the largest component of that at $383 million. That includes the downtown 230 kV line, and this is only in the 5-year capital plan window. It is projected to go beyond that 5-year window. The St. Cloud substation and line upgrades are also included in that $383 million. I will not discount growth because we have a significant amount of customer growth, and that is included in the distribution line at about $200 million in allocated funds to support the capital plan. And we continue to see growth, particularly in the St. Cloud service territory. We are seeing strong customer growth. May not always translate into consumption growth, but we are seeing customer growth. And then on generation side, we have some initiatives focused both on our minority share in the St. Lucie plant, along with compliance initiatives around ensuring that our site remains a zero discharge site as we transition the generation portfolio. So moving on to slide 14. Here we'll talk a little bit about the other side of the core operating plan, which includes water, chilled water lighting, and then our shared services. They represent a little less than 30% of the core operating plan, with water taking the lion's share of that at about $151 million. We also include about $8 million for backflow devices, a compliance-related capital initiative. On the chilled water and lighting, which are our non-traditional services, I talked to you about that innovation and growth for that one customer-sided facility that's in the strategic side of our roadmap. This is primarily focused on our lighting, with about $55 million of this allocated for our lighting initiatives. And then, of course, we have about $84 million for digital and technology, fleet, facilities, and a whole array of supporting services over the 5-year period. So I have given you a lot of cost drivers. I will stop to see if you have questions before I cascade into the pricing changes.
Questions, comments, Mayor, anything from you?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, so I will give you the sneak preview. Electric prices are going down. So I should have said that very first, front and center, but before I start this, electric prices are going down. So again, you've seen this slide. I can never say it enough. We really, the corporate analytics team holds me and everyone else accountable to ensure that we are delivering our pricing in a stable, equitable manner across all customer segments. We are always promoting conservation and looking for what is best for our customers. And then it never discounts to say that we are always comparing our prices to our peers, looking at making sure that we are delivering value to our customers and ensuring that we are economical and efficient in how we're delivering that. So moving on to slide 17, here's somewhat of a unique first for me. We have embarked on really implementing the Electric Integrated Resource Plan. The board approved that in 2020. And the chart you see me present several times. In that chart, we have laid out a plan to 2030 with about a 1% increase earmarked to support that. What we are asking the board, and it'll come back in August, is to support that long-term strategy to earmark up to a 1% price increase that will be folded in with other price changes. So inclusive in this 1% is a net decrease in electric prices, but we are really looking to earmark these funds to support the path to clean energy. And so that's essentially what this action that we will bring forward in August is just to earmark a 1% retail price, 1% of retail prices towards supporting the clean energy plan, whether that's for land acquisitions or recognition of expenses as plant and equipment are energized. We are bringing that forward, and that will come with a recommendation from the Audit Finance Committee. But 24 comes with, inclusive of that up to 1%, which in 24 is 1%, that comes with incorporated the 2024 proposed electric price changes. And so we are seeing about a 19% decrease in electric fuel prices. And so we are transitioning and reshuffling some of that savings into energy costs, but providing a net savings to our customers. The blue line shows you on the chart on the right that we are below the peer average, below the strategic and below the straight peer average. The strategic peer average is around 144. We continue to be well below that. And so what we are proposing is an increase in the customer charge of $2.50, a recalibration of a portion of the fuel savings into energy to deliver a net savings to the customer, of residential customer, $2 per month, which is about a 1.5% price decrease. We are working on a 5-year pricing design roadmap that is a key operating plan initiative for us. And that is really where on the second bullet here on slide 18 that we're talking about what does it look like into the future as we really look to rebalance some of those variable and fixed costs. Again, we are having a third-party consultant come and help us with that, really validate and verify best practices to help align with the timing of our system initiatives, as well as what makes sense for us as we move into this new evolution of our industry. On the water side, the first bullet, and I am on slide 19. I'm not going backwards, I'm going forwards. On slide 19, the top bullet really addresses the retail water residential price changes. These are solely focused on conservation and the top 2 blocks. You can see that in the dark blue.
Mayor, you have a comment?
What's that?
I'm sorry, do you have a comment on the phone?
No.
Oh, sorry. That's okay. Keep going.
No problem. So you can see that in block 4 and block 5, we're really focused on price changes to promote conservation. These price changes are aligned with recommendations by the St. John's Water Management District. And so we are aligning to price recommendations that they have proposed and ratios that they have also proposed between the varying blocks. So they like to see a certain ratio, and we are aligned with those. This is the last step we've taken out of 3 on these. Overall, we are seeing about a less than $1 increase on the retail residential water rates at the lowest block 1. And so that continues to provide us with the lowest cost service in all of our peers. We are well below the peer average. We are the lowest. And so we have taken a step to move forward on eliminating the jurisdictional pricing differences. We'll be doing that over a 2-year period of time. This is our first step, 50% of the way there. When we look at the second bullet here, this is really focused on the developer system development charges, the developers and the builders. As a refresher, in December, we came to the Commission and Audit Finance Committee and shared with you price changes around contributions in aid of construction for developers. This is the sister type price change on water. Same price, well, same cost pressures are applied to water here, but we have a little bit of a different environment here. Impact fees are regulated through the state. So we are limited to the price change that we can assess on system development charges, and that is at the maximum of 12%. And so each of this 12% price change, really like the electric, will be designating the funds and applying this to alternative water sources and growth and using it only for those charges. We don't need the same action because we already have administrative policy that addresses system development charge, which makes it a little bit different than the proposed change on the EIRP, that 1%, up to 1%, but the same concept of designating the funds to support alternative water sources. Again, this is a set, growth is assessed on, the cost of growth is assessed to the developer and builders, and the residential customers do not carry that weight. And so this is very consistent with how water utilities in the state of Florida price their product. We have been actively communicating and will continue to communicate with the developers and builders, but noting we have not made a price change since 2014. So we have tried to keep prices stable, but as the window of the alternative water sources has come closer, really need to take some steps here. We're also seeing some price pressures on the connection fees, and those two are proposed to be increased about 19%. Again, all focused on the developers, but a group of customers that really want to make sure that we connect with so that they are comfortable with the changes and we can partner with them through those changes. Okay, moving on to slide 20. It's our last slide on pricing changes related to lighting. This is our conventional lighting, and here we have not made any price changes since 2004. We have transitioned to LED lighting. We thought that this would deliver some changes, and we had held off on pricing changes, but cost changes around equipment and labor are challenging us. So really need to take a step forward. You can see that the date on these price changes are a little different. The electric and water will go into effect when approved in October. These will go into effect in January. They'll come back again the following year. We're anticipating 10% for 3 years in a row. But we can only accommodate so many price changes at once. And so we are moving these price changes to January. But that will also come under new business in the August timeframe as well. So you'll see them all together. Also want to let you know that in an effort to, again, move on the conservation, we are sunsetting any opportunity, any service related to non-LED lights. So that option is coming off the table as we continue to promote LED, energy efficiency, and conservation on streetlights. And these are the streetlights that are in public roadways, the city, the county, and the Department of Transportation. These are not the convenient, I always have to kind of check my head, that we may have in developer areas that are private contract-driven lighting initiatives. So that closes out the pricing section. Any questions?
Please, please.
You mentioned about the, is a question.
Yes.
You mentioned about the 5-year plan for pricing. When do you foresee?
So we are proposing to bring that forward to the senior team late July. So I anticipate being able to share that with the Audit Finance Committee in the October timeframe.
Okay. The other question is from an accounting standpoint. Okay. The increase, you mentioned 12% on the construction and all that. How do you book that since you're doing system development? How do you handle that?
So you tell me when I get too technical. We book a debit to cash and a credit. Essentially, we call it contributed capital in aid of construction, and we hold it there. It's almost like a liability that we do not recognize until we actually have a project that, in this case, the alternative water sources, that we move forward and we capitalize so that the revenue requirement matches the actual amortization of the asset. So system development accommodates both alternative water and system growth projects. So we are continually calibrating the reserves, the deferred costs, because we don't recognize them as revenue until we actually have an asset that we're depreciating, so it has a net revenue requirement of 0 to the customer.
So then, let's say that is a project, $10 million.
Yep.
Okay? So you're going to do the project. You don't have the 10 million yet, or?
No, I'm hoping I have the 10 million.
But I'm saying you have it in the budget.
Yes.
As a capital plan.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the revenue you're collecting there. So you're going to do the project because you have it in the capital plan. When you get the revenue, that's what you're saying, you're going to offset it?
Yeah.
So it's not going to slow you down from doing,
It's not going to slow me down, and I'm not going to charge the customer in the revenue requirement. That is going to be covered with costs and dollars received from the developer. So it has a net impact of 0 to the retail customer. It is solely funded from developers, but it is not going to stop me from using OUC funds if I do not have enough designated funds to support that project. But if I do my job effectively, I will have enough funds and I don't have to borrow from OUC's operations. If I do my job effectively.
So
No
just to
guarantee.
expand on that, Commissioner Calvet, that's exactly one of the reasons for the increase in the system development charge. As we have gotten closer, Wade's team has gotten closer with the lower, the cost, we have a better understanding of the cost, we have a better understanding of the project that's going to get done. That indicated that we need to increase the system development charge based on the cost of the project, the current reserves, and what the reserves need to be.
Yes.
thank you.
You just made me sharpen my pencil on accounting, and I love it. I have my whole team here, so I don't always get to sharpen my pencil, but I feel good that I knew that. Thank you. They're giggling back there. Okay, I'll move on to revenues if there are no other questions. Okay, Mayor, I am on slide 22.
I'm right with you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Proposed revenues for 2024 are actually going down, but we've talked about that. That is fuel. Fuel is driving that total revenue number. And again, we've shared this countless times. Fuel is a pass-through. So if we have lower costs, we have lower revenues. And that's just the way that works. It's pretty consistent industry-wide. We are seeing about a 6.5% decrease in electric revenues. Again, that is all driven off fuel. And then we are seeing about a 7.6% increase in water and other revenues. Water being driven by some pricing increases, but really it's the chilled water, the expansion of those non-traditional services that are driving the bulk of that. I'll take one more step down here on the electric revenues. Again, I have shared the fuel coming down. It's about 18.5% when you factor in the change in consumption and the forecasted decrease in consumption based on what we are projecting to be a mild recession into 2024. Retail non-fuel revenues are projected to increase 3.1%. Part of that is driven by the recalibration of the price, and part of that is driven off customer growth. On the wholesale side, we are projecting a decrease of about 19%. Our agreement with the City of Lakeland is expiring, and so that contributes a significant portion of that number, which is about, I believe, $12 million a year. And then the other piece of that is that in 2023, we used reserves to help offset some of the cost of bringing OGS online. We are not planning to use those in 24. On the water, chilled water lighting and other fees, we are seeing about, again, a 7.6% increase, 3.5% driven off water revenues, and I am on slide 24. And here you can really see where chilled water is making that difference with Universal coming online, full year of GOA. We are seeing that 22% increase in consumption. Again, this is the complement to what we saw on the net non-operating side. This is the other piece of that. And then as our costs go up, we have minority interest in our plants at Stanton. We share some of those costs and we recognize that here under service fees. So we are seeing that go up because that is a complement to our costs going up. So what we bill our participants is going up as other revenues. Again, it's another lovely accounting thing that's not so easy to explain. moving on to slide 25, and this is my final slide here, really walking through the next steps. On August 8th, we'll bring forward for the board's consideration the approval of the operating budget, 2024 operating budget, the acceptance of the 2024 through 2028 five-year capital plan, and the approval under new business of the price changes. I will come back and give an overview of those price changes. I know there are several of them, like we shared in the Audit Finance Committee, try to give a good visual to understand where we're making those changes on water and electric. All of our customers will be notified through the normal process during the month of September for an effective date of October 1 on electric and water, and then later in the year for the lighting changes effective January 1. So before I close, I certainly have to say, I'll open it up for questions, but I have to stop and say thank you to my team because I could not do this without them. So they are sitting here. Wade, Christy, Gina is not here today. Lawrence is also, I'm not sure, here. And then certainly a special thank you to Erin because I call her on the weekends and she answers me. So, this season brings, it's our second busy season. We work hard during audit season and then we work hard during budget season. So thank you very much for all of your hard work. So I will stop and answer any other questions that you may have.
Please.
Since you mentioned it a few times, and it's a topic that I always ask, anything new concerning Lakeland possible recoveries?
We do not have anything in the budget. We are anticipating that it will go a little longer than we originally anticipated, but we have a piece of that in the budget. We have not heard anything that would extend that beyond the next few months into 2024, unless Wade knows something different. You do? Okay. Well, maybe that's some good news that I'm going to keep in my back pocket.
All right, you may want to have a side meeting after.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
You have the budget book in front of you. In case you have any other questions, the front part really talks about Clint's message, the operating budget, the capital plan, and then we outline several different metrics for you for consumption, for operations, for our reserves, our fuel mix, all of that really great information if you have trouble sleeping at night. I know this will help you. So certainly it is, we are very proud of this.
Can I go ask a question for clarity on the
Yes.
water, on the water rate, the 5 blocks? Can you just remind me how that works? Are the 5 blocks, are those, is it tiered water use? So every household starts out at the 75 cents for
Yes.
1,000 gallons, and the more you use, the more you end up in these higher tiers.
Yes,
And you're ultimately being charged something like $12 or something now.
yes,
Okay, so it's quite a strong incentive to not use a lot of water
yes.
in
And
households.
You don't automatically, when you use that, take the whole consumption up to that top tier. It is graduated once you hit those milestones. But I have talked to people that have hit that block and they're like, I might rethink that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're looking
All right.
for. I believe that it was just anecdotal. In 23, we are finally seeing the influence of those blocks.
Okay, because we actually did some price increases because people weren't getting the message.
They weren't getting the message in 2022.
I remember that. I remember the conversation.
We upped it again in 2023, and now we're starting to see
great.
that. So I anticipate while we're raising the price, we might not necessarily get an additional revenue out of that, but the goal is conservation, and it's not necessarily revenue every time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Oh,
Yes.
please, Robert.
What are you hearing from the development community? I mean, I assume not much. They're probably not paying attention to the budget workshop, but since they're going to see an increase, maybe you've heard from some of the larger folks. I mean, I see we haven't had increases since 2014 and another category 2004, so it's kind of a catch-22 of do you raise it incrementally? you hold off and then everybody complains at a 10% increase but you haven't had any increases for 10 years, so.
So on the lighting, again, it's governmental, so we have reached out to those partners directly. It's a very limited number of customers. On the developers, we are taking that proactive step, but we have been in touch with them regularly related to transformers because there is such a short supply of those, so we've kept those lines of communication open. You're absolutely right, they're probably not sitting listening at our budget workshop, but we have Luz's team and Linda's team really have it on their radar to make sure we get ahead of that with them. In certain cases, we have agreements that there's a settlement into the future, so we have some proactive conversations with them to be had. But we're very aware of that, but thank you for that.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Mindy.
You're welcome, thank you.
That then completes the workshop presentation by management. I would like to invite members of the public that want to address the commission regarding the budget workshop. Do we have any requests to speak at this time for this portion of the meeting?
We do not, President.
We do not. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments, folks on the commission? All right, if there's no further business, is there a motion to adjourn the budget workshop?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and we have a second. Let's go take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And anyone want to oppose? No, motion passes. Budget workshop is adjourned. It is now 2:47 p.m. Let's move on now to the regular meeting. I want to welcome everyone to the board meeting. Ms. Ebony Whitby, will you please provide the moment of reflection? Oh, there you are. Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Living and appreciating the present moment is one of the best gifts we can give ourselves. As we reflect on our lives with the many responsibilities, I'm sure we all spend much more time planning for tomorrow or thinking about things that have already taken place. Our common struggle is living in the past or in the future and failing to be in the present. Thinking about the past and preparing for the future are essential for growth. However, when we spend so much time focused on the past or the future, we're not living in the moment. As you conduct the meeting today, many of the agenda items will require you to address matters of the past and plan for the future. While carrying out this important task, remember to stay attuned to the present. Deepak Chopra may have said it best. The most important time in your life is now. The most important person in your life is the one that you're looking at right now, excluding me, of course. The most important thing you can do in your life is what you're doing now. The best way to prepare for the future is to be totally present now. Now is the moment that never ends. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That's great. I'm going to use that at home tonight. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Thomas Holt to come forward and lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Thomas served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 5 years, achieving the rank of sergeant. He's worked at OUC for 5 years, and his current title is Associate Accountant. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. All right, the time is now 2:50 p.m., I think, and I call the July 18th, 2023 Commission meeting to order. Again, I'd like to acknowledge we have a quorum present this afternoon. Mayor Dyer is calling in on the telephone. Our agenda item here, our next agenda item is the consideration of the May 9th pricing workshop minutes. I will entertain a motion to waive the reading of the pricing workshop minutes and adopt them as published.
So moved. Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? All right, the motion passes. The next agenda item is the consideration of the May 9th commission meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading of the commission meeting minutes and adopt them as published.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. And opposed? No one? Thank you. Motion passes. All right, we have 3 service awards this month. Mr. Adams, will you kick us off and present the first service award?
Good afternoon. Microphone check. All right, there we go. Good afternoon. I would like to bring forward Mr. Eddie Fee. We are celebrating Eddie's 25-year service award. Eddie is accompanied by his wife, Stephanie. Eddie has 4 children, Adrian, Max, and I'm pretty sure these 2 guys here are Gavin and Whitey, correct? All right. Eddie is a second-generation OUCer. His father, Eddie Fee, is a senior? Eddie Fee Sr., retired about 15 years ago and worked in our fleet department. So even though Eddie's father worked for OUC, I guess he wasn't, didn't know what he wanted to do. It's not like, I guess, his dad pushed him to come to work at OUC, but he was kind of looking around in school, and he saw a meter reading position that was available. So during those days, how OUC did the hiring for meter readers was we brought in applicants, interviewed them, and we kept a list. And they ranked the employees, not the employees, they ranked the prospective employees by that list and then gave them a call. So they gave Eddie a call for an interview, didn't get the job, so I guess we kept the list going back in those days. And they gave him a second call for a second interview, didn't get the job. He was persistent. We called him a third time, and third time's a charm. He did get the job at that time. He was essentially still in school, just trying to find a job to help pay his way through school. So later on in 2002, fast forward to 2002, he graduated UCF with his undergraduate degree. And in 2013, he went back and got his MBA and finished in 2015, all while working here at OUC. So work history, was hired in '98 in that meter reading position, held several jobs, many jobs within the metering operations area, field service technician, electric meter technician 2, revenue protection specialist, revenue assurance administrator, meter data administrator, manager, MDM, and revenue assurance. And his current position of director, meter services. Now, as director, Eddie is responsible for maintaining approximately 160,000 water meters and 275,000 electric meters, and is also over our revenue assurance team. Now, as we all know, maintaining those meters, keeping those meters spinning, ensuring the accuracy of the meters is critical to our organization and critical to our customers as well. So there are several contributions to the commission that I want to highlight from Eddie's career. So going backwards to when Eddie was initially hired, in about 3 years he had spent over in the electric meter shop. He had finished his undergrad in business management and was thinking about how he was going to get into management. So at that time, OUC did not have a utility theft program. Management was debating whether or not we would see benefits from that. So as a pilot project, they created a revenue protection specialist position. So Eddie decided to throw his name in the hat, got the position on a temporary basis just to see if it would work. Eddie did really well in that position. He was extremely successful regarding back billing customers. They actually found some grow houses on the system. People were drilling into meters, stopping the meter from spinning, putting pennies on the meter. So Eddie went out and found all of that and made a lot of money for the commission in back billing our customers. He became a revenue assurance administrator and hired 2 additional staff to the team. and just took that whole department to another level. So he's really, really proud of that. Another highlight of Eddie's career was the successful rollout of the AMI electric and water meter deployment back in 2014. We made presentations to the board back then for that project. Eddie is also very proud of the work that his team has done with the meter data platform project. It's the first time that OUC has housed any of our data in the cloud using AWS and Snowflake services. He's also very proud of the deployment of the use cases across the organization. A few examples are high water usage, watering on the wrong day, and leak detection, which are used by our sustainability teams. Eddie's team also works very closely with our electric engineering team to provide consumption and voltage data to support customer profiling of energy use. Eddie and his team are always heavily involved anytime we have upgrades to our CCMB and MDM systems, anything that's meter to cash related, applications where customers are looking at their usage online. Eddie and his team are heavily involved and critical to those projects. So a few things that Eddie likes to do in his spare time, his interests and hobbies. He helps his kids with football. They love football. I think these two young guys here are even involved in fantasy football, believe it or not. And they know all the players' names and the positions, right, guys? They can even teach Eddie a few things about fantasy football. They love to go hunting. They have a camp in Ocala, and they go hunting during the hunting season. They also own a deck boat where they go tubing and wakeboarding. So I asked a few people on Eddie's team, tell me a little bit about Eddie and your impressions of Eddie. Calm demeanor, calm, cool, and collected. Very thorough and organized. Doesn't leave a lot to chance. And because of all those positions that I named earlier, he's very knowledgeable of all facets within his organization. Very thoughtful, well-planned, thinks everything through thoroughly. Very well respected and reliable in the organization. Resilient was another word that came up, and able to navigate through difficult situations and stays in touch with employees and has a very high engagement. As you guys heard when his name was mentioned, people were clapping. So Eddie, congratulations on 25 years, and I look forward to another 25 years with you.
His picture is probably Mindy's office.
All right. Congratulations. Ms. Vilas, will you take and announce our next service award?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. President Gross. Good afternoon. Bobby Collins, will you please come and join me and his wife, Marla? Bob Collins is our Economic Development Manager. And I probably should have clarified, Bobby, Bob, Robert, whatever. So if you hear me using those names throughout the conversation, it is interchangeable, right? Thank you for joining us, Marla, and congratulations to you both. They just recently celebrated 29 years of wedding bliss in June. So I thought it was important to highlight that since we're celebrating his 20 years here at OUC, and you've been a part of all of that, Marla. So thank you for your service to OUC as well. So over the past 20 years, Bobby has assisted many commercial customers and community partners. And he started at OUC as a key account manager and progressed to be the key accounts manager and also manage our conservation team. Now he's the economic development manager. Bobby has technical knowledge of utilities and rates, things that are very beneficial when you're negotiating and talking to large commercial customers and trying to entice them to come to this Orlando area, specifically to our service territory. Bobby also currently serves on the OEP Regional Economic Development Team, also known as the RED Team, which helps to attract large commercial customers to Orlando, to really the larger Central Florida area. So he serves in that role and is also a board member of the National Entrepreneur Center. Thank you for doing that, Bobby. As the Economic Development Manager, Bobby primarily focuses on attracting, retaining, and expanding large commercial customers here in our service territory. He's also responsible for two other groups, Development Services and Service Planning, which are also part of the starting process of accounts here at OUC. These teams ensure there's coordination of construction services, if there's demolition activities that have to take place, and that services that we should bill for are associated to the correct premises. There's more. There's always more. There's a lot more I can get into, but we're going to keep this going, Bobby. Throughout his career here at OUC, Bob has been part of various deals attracting customers to Orlando. A notable one was his involvement with the U.S. Tennis Association when they were relocating their headquarters from New York to here to the Lake Nona area. And he was part of those negotiations and those dealings, making sure we incentivize them in the right way to make sure they landed in our service territory. He's also been involved in other strategic deals like KPMG coming to Lake Nona is another one that's notable to us. And most recently, one of the big ones was Bobby has helped to negotiate the sale of our Jetport property. It was really through a connection with Bobby that that deal came to us, and he facilitated those negotiations until Chris said it was time for him to take it over. So, till our legal team took it over. But Bobby's still very involved, making sure that that process continues and that we complete the sale of that property. So thank you, Bobby. That's a big a deal for OUC. So on a personal note, Bobby has two boys. Bobby and Marla has two boys, Jacob, who's 27 years old, and his youngest son is Jordan, who's 24 years old. While Bobby has many reasons to be proud of both of them, Bobby wanted me to make sure to take this time to share a genuine appreciation to OUC for supporting him throughout the years as his family worked to attending Jordan's medical condition. Jordan is one of 400 people that has on 2 occasions received a liver transplant from living donors. The first donor was Marla, who is a superhero mom. And in 2022, my knees are shaking. My knees are literally shaking because I just want to do this justice, Bobby, genuinely. And in 2022, Jordan's sister-in-law was a match, another hero. My words today aren't enough to express the gratitude Bobby expressed to me in our one-on-one preparing for this, but really Bobby has to his wife, to his daughter-in-law for what they did. And he also has the sincerest gratitude to OUC for having policies and medical benefits in place that have allowed him to help his son throughout these many years.
Many good decisions happened with these doctors. When my son was very ill last year in December, a bunch of really smart doctors made a lot of very good decisions, and it saved his life. And when you sit there and you see that, you also realize that a series of many good decisions took place long before that, and Mindy and I were talking about it, that allowed that to happen. And many of you sit in many rooms on Tuesdays in April through budget meetings and benefits meetings, and they actually matter. They do result in very important things. And so we're very appreciative on behalf of my family to the executives and to the commissioners who sit through those meetings and make those decisions that really do have results that save lives and impact people. And so thank you for volunteering this time. It's free that you gave. It matters. And so thank you all for that. And it's really why we wanted to come here today. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, and I know that's maybe a little bit off script, Clint, but thank you for allowing Bobby to say those words. I just couldn't do that justice enough. So Bobby, thank you for appreciating OUC. I know we all mean it, but we appreciate you. Thank you for your 20 years of service to OUC, for all the great decisions you've made and decisions you've been a part of. And congratulations on your 20 years.
Congratulations.
All right, Luz, that was great. Bobby, thank you for that feedback. We don't know. We don't often get a lot of that direct feedback. Thank you very much for that, and I hope your family is
I
getting
have
healthy.
to interject this one thing. The other side of me came out as he was talking, and I wanted to say, amen, my brother.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Ms. Ozani, please, the next service award.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited to bring up Queen Masseline and her son Sean in recognition of her 20 years of service. Come on, no, you've got to come. I've got stuff to say about you too. Hi, Queen.
Yeah, sorry about this, but you just have to do it. Like, you have to do it.
Thank you for coming up. Queen started at OUC on May 12th in 2003. But to be really clear, she started a year before that as a contractor, processing utility payments at the drive-thru here or at Gardenia? At Gardenia. So then a year later, Queen came on as a customer service rep 2, and then progressed to customer service rep 1. She's also been a customer account analyst 1 and 2, or 2 and 1. I always get the sequence backwards, 2 and 1. Purchasing specialist, community engagement coordinator, and now she serves as a senior community engagement coordinator. Here with her is her son, Sean, who is 22, and she also has 3 other boys, Jamari, who is 20, KJ, who is 10, and Kanan, who is 5, who could not be here with us today. In her role, Queen leads all of our volunteering and giving efforts. So our quarterly volunteer projects, I have the honor of speaking to you about. Queen is behind all of those. Our Proud Volunteer program, Queen is behind that. Our employee giving, OUC Cares, that is also Queen. She does a lot here within OUC to make sure we're visible in the community and connected. Also, I gotta mention the charity golf tournament, right? That's also within your domain. While progressing throughout her career, Queen obtained her bachelor's and her MBA from Nova Southeastern, as well as several certifications, which, much like Bobby, Queen wanted to make sure I took a moment to express her sincere appreciation and gratitude for OUC's tuition reimbursement program, because without it, she could not have done that while taking care of her 4 children, and working full-time. Yes. You made me snort. Queen, that's cool. Her colleagues say that you are funny, personable, very driven, that you love people. You would take a phone call or a conversation over an email any day, and that's partially or primarily the reason why you have such good relationships inside and outside the commission. You're very involved in the community, and I'd like to share some highlights. Like Luz, I'm very nervous because I don't know what it is about these presentations, but they make me more nervous than anything. As part of your involvement in ABE, which is the American Association of Blacks in Energy, Queen is the co-chair of the Youth Energy Academy and has been involved in it since its inception at OUC for the last 11 years. She's very proud of this program. The next academy is actually later this month on July 27th and 28th, which you'll get to hear Queen talk about at the next commission meeting, but I just told her that, so she's now aware. She's also very proud of her work at the OUC Employee Empowerment Zone Task Force that develops and implements programs in the 32805 zip code where Queen was born and raised. When the task force was launched, Queen and I had a conversation. She came into my office, we sat down, and very passionately and firmly told me this cannot be something that is just a logo on a shirt or on a sign or on a brochure, that it really has to make a difference in people's lives. And Queen, with others on the Empowerment Zone Task Force, has ensured that that happens. Queen herself specifically has worked on the little free libraries that are now throughout the 32805 zip code, tutoring with Elevate, as well as the computer donation program. But she's also helped with the pre-apprenticeship program, and we're very proud of Sean because he's a recent graduate of the program. Congratulations on all your hard work. Queen's also a member of the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Inc., which is a community-conscious, action-oriented organization built on the ideals of scholarship, service, sisterhood, and finer womanhood. I like that a lot. She also serves on the executive board for the Children's Safety Village,
the board of the United Negro College Fund, and is a member of the Orange County NAACP, just to name a few. She's got some more things going on as well. She credits her success to a combination of OUC's culture and herself. She says that OUC is a company willing to stand behind you 100% if you want it. Hard work pays off, and she is proud that she can be a role model to her children. Finally, Queen mentioned to me that she was 19 years old when she started at OUC. Looking back, she has been able to learn from strong female leaders as she's grown and worked to bring her authentic self to work. While there are too many to list, she specifically mentioned Luz Aviles, our Vice President of Customer Experience and Sales, and former OUC employees Roseanne Harrington, Cynthia Henry, and of course, Janet Pinder. As you heard, Queen is now following in their footsteps and is serving as a mentor to so many, and we are so grateful for her 20 years of service. Thank you, Queen, for all you do for OUC and our community.
Congratulations, too.
He's ready to get out of there.
She's my fraternal sister. I'm a Sigma, she's a Zeta.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Veroni, would you like to present the community recognitions?
President Gross, Commissioners, Mayor, and Clint. As we reflect on all that we have accomplished over these past 100 years, I'm incredibly proud to share some fantastic news with you on behalf of all OUC employees. For the third time in 4 years, our customers have recognized OUC as the most trusted brand amongst electric utility providers, which is a result of a survey conducted by the third-party independent human and behavior analytics firm Escalent. So OUC finished first amongst 100 electric utilities, which includes electric only and electric and gas combination companies. In fact, OUC is the only Florida electric utility to be named a most trusted brand, something we're very proud of. So Escalent surveyed more than 75,000 customers to track the performance of 141 electric, gas, and combination utilities, and they score this on a 1,000 point scale. I'll show you that in just a moment. But only 42 of those 141 utilities met that benchmark to be considered as a most trusted brand. According to Escalent, utilities that have maintained or increased what they spend on communications throughout the pandemic and ongoing economic difficulties are seeing higher levels of brand trust, which of course does make sense, and that is what we indeed did. Florida Gas Company and TECO Peoples Gas were the only gas utilities from our state to be named on the list. So on page 2, as you can see, OUC scored the highest for Florida utilities. Again, this was on a 1,000 point scale. As I mentioned, this is not our first recognition from Escalent. We debuted as a most trusted brand onto the index in 2018, and then claimed that top score in 2020, 2022, and now again in 2023. Again, something we're very proud of. In addition, in this past spring, Escalent named OUC as a 2023 environmental champion for our 6th consecutive year in a customer-focused study that was gauging utilities' environmental stewardship. So awards like these are a really true testament to the dedication our employees have to our customers and to what it really means to be a community utility. We work very hard, nonstop, to ensure that our community's trust only grows, because we certainly know that trust lost is very, very difficult to regain. As inflation continues to impact many of our customers, we realize the need for assistance. That's why, as your hometown utility, we're constantly working with our community partners to provide financial assistance and providing education and tips on how to manage energy usage and manage cost. And we're always working to provide exceptional services to improve the lives of those that we serve. Of course, these awards are incredibly important to our organization, but they would not be possible without the support of you, our board, constantly guiding us and supporting us to always strive to be our best. So with that, I thank you. Going?
Yes.
Okay.
Fantastic.
I'll keep this rolling unless there's any comments. I'll keep this rolling. More good news. We're getting the presentation pulled up.
See, we've come to
We
expect
like the good
this.
news. That's when I stand up here. I
So.
stand up here with good news.
It's all good. It's really good.
It's a compliment that you come to expect it.
Yeah, it's really phenomenal.
Okay, so again, commissioners, Mayor Dyer-Clint, for the fifth consecutive year, OUC's been recognized by the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, or SACE, as a sunriser, the nonprofit's designation for leading energy providers, solar energy providers in the Southeast. So this report looks at the results for more than 400 utilities that span the 7 states in the Southeast. So on slide 2, you can see the OUC is one of only 7 utilities to earn the Sunriser distinction for 2023 for this report that just came out. This report shows the Sunrisers who exhibit the highest solar ambition, which is measured on an increase in watts per customer. That's a ratio between the base years of 2022 and 2026. That's a forecast for 2026. So let me say a little bit more about that on slide 3. So looking at this table, you can see that SACE is forecasting the solar watts growing for 2026. For OUC specifically, we're growing by 1,101 watts per customer from 2022 to 2026, which remains above the state average. The report also projects Lakeland Electric will have the largest increase on solar watts per customer, rising from 2,008 to 1,400 by 2026. Florida Power and Light, they're the 3rd place on the solar watts per customer growth, projected to add 1,020 watts per customer by 2026, bringing its total to 1,772 watts per customer. I know this is a little confusing because the table is in order of total watts per customer, but the Sunriser is the change between 2022 to 2026. It's the growth. That's what they're measuring. So we're pleased to be continued to be recognized as a Sunriser. It really is this distinction that affirms that we're living up to our pledge to invest in renewable energy to reduce CO2 carbon emissions. So on slide 4, these images really show how we're supporting and managing the growth of solar and how it remains critical to us meeting our goals. So you can see here the existing solar farms at Harmony in Osceola County, Taylor Creek in Orange County, and our floating solar arrays, the bottom right there, our Gardenia floating solar array at our Gardenia Innovation and Operations Center, and the GOA floating solar array at the Orlando International Airport. All of these continue to show our steady progress in this direction. Paired with this, the additional 2 74.5 megawatt solar farms that are slated for Osceola and Orange County that will be done by December of 2024, which are already approved by the Commission. These help us reach that 1,763 watts per customer, which you saw on the prior page. Keep in mind that we're also in the process process of installing our 2-megawatt floating solar array on the Florida Department of Transportation pond, which is just south of our Pershing Operations Center. This will be the largest floating solar array in the southeast at that 2 megawatts when it's done. That you also approved just about 7 months ago in December. So in last summer, and then again in December, you heard from Sam Shea, Director of Strategy, and Justin Kramer, our Manager of Emerging Technology. They briefed you on the National Renewable Energy Lab study on floating solar technical potential in the Southeast, that in our service territory. That really will help us understand how much floating solar is possible and provide us with a framework to help tell us what bodies of water would be appropriate for floating solar. That study we expect to be completed by the end of the summer, and we'll be providing you with a briefing at an upcoming board meeting. So based on all of the things that are available to us, we know that all types of solar are going to be required for us to meet our goal. Utility scale solar, as you see here, as well as floating solar, and of course, rooftop solar. We're very proud to be named as a sunriser while keeping our rates below our strategic peer average. We're always looking for ways to be consistent with our EIRP and balance our affordability, our sustainability, our reliability, and our resiliency. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we should applaud. Those are 2 great awards. Thank you for that, Linda. Anyone have any comments? Anyone want to say anything right now?
No, I'm good.
All right, very good. Thank you. That was actually quite impactful, I would say, first like 20 minutes or whatever we had here at this meeting. Let's move to the affirmative items portion of the agenda now. Mr. Bolt, before we consider the affirmative items, have you had any requests to speak relative to the affirmative items? I know, by the way, we have a speaker lined up for the general appearances, but what about the affirmative items? No one teed up. Okay, fine. Thank you for that. Mr. Bolt, do you have comments or presentations regarding affirmative items?
Yes, I do, President Gross. Thank you. I do have one agenda item I would like to highlight for the commission here today, and that's 813. I'm going to have Ken Zambito come up. And Ken's going to talk a little bit about the past, and then he's going to talk about the project that's needed in the future. But we do have some action that needs to be taken today. Did anyone like how I did that? Thank you. The decision we're going to have to make today is really driven off of the FDOT is doing expansion on Robinson Street. And we have a project that we have to be a part of. And so Ken's going to give you again an overview of a project we've been considering for a while, but now we have to make a decision to do a portion of that today, and he'll explain the reasons why. And we're also, seeing some significant pricing pressures on this project. So we want to do it in a phased approach. So Ken's going to give you a little bit of walkthrough and then see if you have any specific questions related to 813. So Ken, it's all yours. Whatever's left is all yours.
Yes. President Gross, Commissioners, Mayor Clint. I think Clint has pretty much given my presentation. I don't know. No. Mindy, is this thing on? Can you tell me? Let's see.
Don't ask.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so before we get started, those of you who've been on the board a while, this may be a little bit of a deja vu moment, and we'll get to the details on that. But this project has been kind of in the works since 2015. So transmission projects, long time, lots of planning, and as you've heard from Mindy, lots of capital. Those numbers are increasing. So just a little precursor to that. So 2015, we do planning studies. We look at all the flows across the system. We look at load growth projections. All that goes into making determination on when we need to start building, right? Designing, building, constructing. So 2015, we had some studies that showed we really needed this new transmission line into the downtown corridor. Our 115 system goes into downtown. We have 230 kind of ringing around the south part of this system, but we do not have 230 into downtown. So as I mentioned, growth in that in the area, increased flows across our system. We are, when you hear the grid, right, We're really talking about the transmission system. And flows come from your neighbors. We impact them, they impact us. Where they site generation, where their load is, things kind of flow into, out of your system. So you're not an island unto yourself. You get impacted by what other people do. Underground infrastructure into downtown. The substations in downtown are all fed from underground service, which is wonderful from an aesthetic standpoint. However, when something does go wrong, which I'm not saying it's going to happen, but when it does, takes longer to fix. It takes longer to procure materials, and it puts you in a little bit more of a precarious situation than you would have with an overhead system. And then finally, regulatory issues. So we are subject to FERC rules when it comes to contingency analysis. You've heard before about attempting to avoid blackouts across the United States transmission system. All those rules are in place to make sure that you do not start that cascading event. So we have to do contingency analysis, and we have to take action based on the results of those contingencies. So all that said, we went out, we did a CCNA for an engineering firm to start the studies, route studies, estimates, and all of that back in 2015. Power Engineers was the selected vendor. And the project we're talking about includes not just the transmission line, but also the new Lake Highland substation, which on this map, not a lot of detail here, but you can see we've got to make it from Pershing, down there in the bottom right, all the way up to the Lake Highland substation. It's a total of approximately 10 miles of 230 kV transmission that we need to build. Now, when we get to Lake Highland, we've cleared out the property. You'll see some previous agenda items we had regarding clearing, demolition. Remember, the power plant used to be there, storage facilities were there. We had environmental remediation to do. All of that has happened. Eventually, this is what we expect our substation to look like. So the rendering of the substation, the wall around it is there in the middle. And then for just to situate you, the existing Weber substation off to the right, Lake Highland Water Plant back there, and the Lake Ivanhoe building off to the left, and bounded by the urban trail on one side. So, as I mentioned, maybe a little deja vu moment for you all. We have been to the commission for 7 different approvals. Again, engineering, environmental services, demolition services. From January of 2016 through October of 2020, various times we've come back to that for those approvals. To date, we've asked for approval of nearly $17 million. Now, we did all of that, and then COVID hit. So we had done community outreach. We were really ready to go with this project. And obviously the uncertainties, we kind of pulled back and said, we don't know what load growth is going to look like. We have uncertainty here. Let's hold off. So we held off. The world doesn't change. Growth is still happening. Load flows are still happening. We still need the project. So in 2019, had we brought it forward to you, I would have been standing here asking you for $126 million. Pretty substantial amount by all accounts. That was pre-COVID. As you can see from the bullets, 100% increase in conduit, asphalt, concrete, labor. Cable increased by 80%, driven by copper, commodity pricing, and labor. Substation construction, 45%, steel, copper, labor. So based on today's market pricing, which Mindy told me we're forecasting maybe we have a little recession. We're not rooting for that, but perhaps commodity prices will come down. But if I was asking today, I would be asking for $246 million for this project. And as Mindy pointed out, it used to be Generation was asking for all the money. Now I get to stand up here and do that. But I'm not asking you for $246 million today. So just a little more. Even at the original price tag, we looked at alternatives. Do we have to build this line to accomplish what we need? We looked at battery storage on site. Again, battery storage at the time was not cost effective. Forecast said it would come down. It's gone the other way as well, right? Also, we looked at perhaps combustion turbines. Okay, we're talking about something we're dealing with contingencies and not all hours of the day, but Maybe we site some CTs there. Also not cost effective, plus environmental, runtime, all those issues. Recently, I asked Justin's team to look at superconductors. I figured, hey, maybe superconductors, smaller footprints, not as big a duct bank. Well, the longest superconductor project commercially in service is a half mile. We're not there yet, maybe someday. And then my team also looked at, okay, if we make improvements on other parts of the system, bus tie transformers, line upgrades, what does that buy us? The bottom line is nothing provides a suitable alternative to doing the project. You may kick the can down the road a little bit by doing some of these things, but ultimately this really needs to get built. So why am I coming and asking for it today? Essentially our route coming into downtown, part of that route goes along Robinson Street, and the DOT is planning a street improvement project in middle of 2024. And once the DOT does that streetscape, they will have a 5-year moratorium on getting in that road, which means I've got the DOT project, if it's on time, maybe a year, 5 more years to wait, and lots of things can happen in between. So if we do not go into that road now, we will be waiting a very long time and face more uncertainty. That section of the road has been designed. It has been bid out, competitively bid, and has come back at a cost of $15 million. Now, having said that, we'll continue to look at cost-saving options on the other parts of this line. While we say hope is not a plan, we do hope that commodity prices go down. So I am not asking for your support on the entire project right now, but I do need your support on the Robinson Street section. So I won't go through the entire recommended action here. It's all detailed out, but effectively we're asking for monies to construct the duct bank on Robinson Street, about a 1-mile section that would kind of at least secure that portion of the route for us. So.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions, comments, input, thoughts? Can I just ask a clarification question?
Of course.
I think you started the presentation by saying that all the substations in Orlando are underground? Some of them are?
If I said that,
oh.
I must have been stumbling over my words.
Oh, okay.
So I think I might have talked about the transmission lines coming into the downtown area are underground.
Okay. Substations, just like the picture we saw above ground, just like
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just want to understand.
Sorry. No, it's the lines. The line. If I said that, I apologize. I meant the
maybe
lines.
You didn't. Maybe it was me hearing things wrong again. Comments? Any input?
No, I'm good. I would just say, we know we're going to do this. At some point, we need to just bite the bullet and approve it at one time so we don't hinder you with pre-approval.
Yeah.
All right? I know that's not your ask. It's a mighty big ask, but I'm asking for you. Okay.
Well, I appreciate that, Commissioner Mills. I think if we felt more certain about what the end game would be, we would probably have done that.
Okay.
But the way prices are going, again, hope is not a plan. We're hoping they're going to go down. We also will look at any other alternatives we can come up with that might mitigate the costs. Again, the original cost wasn't cheap, but this has kind of gotten to a whole nother level that really makes us have to rethink what options we might have. So thank you for that support. I appreciate that.
The Robinson piece is a no-brainer.
Yeah, moving forward on this is a no-brainer.
We're going to open the hole.
This is logical. You have to do this. There's no choice with that.
I'm good.
I think, Commissioner Mills, I think this falls into a similar theme when we had Wade come in May and talk about Lake Highland, now what we broke it up into 5 projects.
Okay.
You know, what we're seeing from the contractors is just, it's concerning. And we feel like on some of these projects, we just need to push back. And we need to send a signal that we don't have to do all of these projects right now. It's very hard to determine which ones, and which is why we broke, Wade's down. That's why Ken and I, we've had a lot of discussions with him and his team and Keith and trying to find out the right time. We just didn't feel like in this market conditions to move forward with the entire scope. It's just doesn't feel right. And if we didn't have the time schedule with Robinson, we wouldn't even be here today.
That's correct.
But with that project, we felt like we need to get into the board. And so we do. I thank you for the support. I would just let you know, Commissioners, we are continuing to try to be diligent. 246 is a lot of money.
Yeah,
clearly.
and we appreciate that.
It's clearly. So
I
we're going to
understand.
keep being diligent so I can keep our CFO sitting up and standing up straight. And I'm hopeful we'll be able to come back another day and indicate that we are seeing some form of reductions in the market, whether it's labor, materials, et cetera. So, but thank you for the support.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
It's good.
I mean, you said that, and we also almost had to bring Jason Everett to take care of Mindy.
Exactly. President, I have no further items to highlight unless there's any questions by the board.
Are there any other members, I'll ask one more time, that want to speak on the affirmative items? No. All right, fine. Is there a motion then to approve the affirmative items, A1 to A27?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. All right, everyone, the motion passes. Thank you. All right, there is no new business, I understand, so we'll move on to the presentations. Commissioner Mills, do you want to please provide us with the Audit Finance Committee report?
Yes, let me preface by saying we don't have anything to recommend for this meeting, but part of my report brings a recommendation for the August meeting as well. So this is more FYI. The Audit Finance Committee meeting was held on June 29th of this year. The committee reviewed the proposed 2024 operating budget and the capital plan, which was presented earlier. And we also looked at proposed electric, water, and lighting price changes, which will be presented and was presented at this meeting. The committee also reviewed management's recommendation to provide for an annual electric retail price increase of up to 1% to support the path to clean energy and an annual system development charge increase up to 12%, which you're now aware, to support the path to alternative water sources. In conjunction with the retail electric price plan, the committee also recommends now the following action for commission approval in the August 8th commission meeting. We recommend deferral and subsequent recognition of revenue and designated reserves from the proposed up to a 1% annual electric retail price increase, which would put us in alignment with implementation costs for the path to clean energy. The committee was provided, after that recommendation, with the results of the bond issue and the associated confirmation of OUC's AA bond ratings. The committee was also provided with the status update on the employee benefit plan audits, which you will see, and grant operational activities. The committee was provided with management's recommendation to exercise the first Ernst & Young external audit services agreement on a one-year renewal option. In addition, management recommended curtailing the second one-year renewal under the current contract, and we're going to execute a new 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewals at the completion of the first renewal term. Affirmative agenda item A22, which is on the agenda, proposes commission approval to exercise this first one-year renewal option along with associated funding. And finally, quarterly financial updates were provided for the Energy Risk Management Committee, Internal Audit, and Financial Services. We also saw an update on the Code of Conduct initiative, which was provided to us as well. And then we adjourned the meeting. That concludes my report.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. Any comments, questions? Everyone okay?
No.
Ms. Bernay, then, are we ready to present the financial report?
Got a little excited there. I went ahead of you. Good afternoon, Commissioners, President Gross, Clint, Mayor. I am on the first slide of our financial report, really reporting out on the full month of June. Given the time where we are later in the month, on July 18th, I can share with you the full month of June. It is the third quarter ending, June financial statements, and we are pretty darn close to income before contributions. You can see on the top line that we're slightly ahead of revenues. Again, we've been sharing that the wholesale revenues have been stronger for that one winter event that gave us a little bit of windfall. We have not yet used the 25 million that we deferred from last year. Again, we took that price adjustment on October 1. We have parked 25 million in reserves. We have yet to use that. No need at this point. And we'll use them if we need them. On the expense side, we're just pretty much right on budget here, ahead of budget for a net amount of 1.6 million. If you look at the very bottom bullet here, I wanted to share with you that we are seeing the lower fuel costs really translate to our fuel reserve balance increasing, and we are now at about 29 million positive, which is a really good sign. We have shared some of those savings with the customers. Again, the proposed budget workshop and pricing workshop had a second price decrease, but the first price decrease went in on June 1st, so we could share some of those savings with the customers. We do anticipate getting to the floor of our reserves by the end of the calendar year, and we continue to make good progress on that. Yes?
To clarify on the revenues, when you say the winter, you're referring more to the wholesale side?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
On the wholesale
absolutely. Side. It was the winter event around Texas that created a windfall for us.
On the wholesale.
On the wholesale market, yes, absolutely. I have a second slide because I want to share with you the results of our bond issue. Again, you heard Commissioner Mills share that we had our AA rating affirmed by all three agencies, S&P, Fitch, and Moody's. We executed our bond transaction on June 6th. We were 6 times oversubscribed. So that meant 6 times more investors wanted to buy our bonds than we actually had issue for. So when that happens, we don't just say, yes, I'm so glad that you're happy and you want our bonds. We say, okay, let's renegotiate the price. And that's exactly what we did, and we were able to deliver an additional $1.1 million savings to our customers. So that interest, we fortunately timed it well. We were on the brink of the default, right? So the budget crisis that was happening at the federal level, we kind of snuck in after that. We're not a lot of participants in the market, so we really had a very favorable showing. We have an all-in rate of less than 4%, really beyond what we had projected in the budget. So we are anticipating seeing savings in the 24 budget. But again, I keep that in my back pocket for when I need it. But again, this is aligned to our long-term strategy of maintaining our 50-50 debt-to-equity ratio. Questions?
I mean, can you just, do utilities in general perform well right now, or no? That's not true at all.
So it really is dependent on when you go to market, the number of issues that are out there, because while we are utilities and municipals, we may go to market at the same time as a large municipal county or a city or a university. And so we may be competing with other investors. We did not have a lot of competition given the timing that we went to market. So there was a need. These large institutional investors really come to the table looking for opportunities, and they're really looking to balance their portfolio with municipal tax exempt bonds. So some of it is timing, some of it is skill, some of it is partnership with our underwriters. With a little help from PFM, we were really able to renegotiate some of that.
That's great.
But it boils down to how strong we are.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't get a AA rating. That doesn't come out that easily. We work really hard. The organization works really hard to maintain those financial metrics, the debt to equity, the cash reserves, all of those financial key performance indicators make a difference.
I mean, I read the 3 from the three rating agencies, read the report, and, the organization is strong.
That's good.
Strong,
Good to hear.
and I will say that and I shared this in the Audit Finance Committee, but the rating agencies absolutely recognize the support that we get from the board. That is very critical. We see what happens when we don't have board support. JEA had that several years back, and the rating agencies responded very quickly with a downgrade. So your support of price changes, initiatives, strategic, all of our initiatives around that, and the quick response on those fuel price changes really matter to the rating agencies. So thank you.
Super interesting. Thank you for that. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
No, I'm good.
All right, thank you so much again, Mindy. Mr. Browder, do you have any legal issues to report at this time? None either. All right, I do have one request from the public to speak in general appearances. Are there any others at this time?
No
Just
others.
the one. Very good. So let's, is this the right time to ask for the public comments?
Yes.
So, Ms. Harris, Cynthia Harris, oh, there you are. Would you please go up to, please come up to the mic over there. And before you start, let me remind anyone who's going to speak here, please state your name and your address and whether you're an OUC customer. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And if we have any questions, we can direct questions that we might have to the officers or staff to address now, or if appropriate, we'll listen to what you have to say and then maybe deal with them afterwards, if that's okay.
I think I'll be under the 3 minutes this time. Good afternoon. My name is Cynthia Harris, 12 Channing Avenue, Orlando 32811. I am an OUC customer. I'm here today because not only am I the president of the Greater Malibu Groves Neighborhood Association, I reside also in Malibu Groves. What I'm here today to do is make an ask, and right behind my house is a park, city park called Rattlesnake Park. And what I'm requesting from OUC is to create a solar farm in that park. It's unused land. It's been designated a park for almost 50 years. And I'm a strong believer in conservation. I delivered 300 conservation kits to my neighbors during the shutdown. So I was featured in your newsletter. So that shows you how much I'm really in tune to conserving and making sure that we benefit from all of the services that OUC has. So today I'm just making an ask. I have been in communication with Alex through the years. He delivered the conservation kits to my home so that I could make sure that all the residents receive a kit. And I think we have a good working partnership and relationship with OUC because you come to my National Night Out as well, and I hope you're going to be there again this year to spread all the information that you have. But I'm really strongly wanting that solar farm in Rattlesnake Park. I think that that piece of land would benefit the community.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll have folks look into that, I'm sure. Thank you very much for those comments, too. Really appreciate your
I just have
time.
a question. Why is it called Rattlesnake Park?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the first thing we need to do is to change
In
it.
Orlando, I mean,
Okay, so before Malibu Groves was a residence, it was a orange grove. Mm-hmm. And when they put homes there, it was full of rattlesnakes. So that's where the name came from, Rattlesnake Park. So growing up as a kid, you always was looking at snakes all the time. So snakes are not as high as they used to be. I almost stepped on one probably about a month ago walking out my front door. But it wasn't a rattlesnake, it was a grass snake. But nevertheless, I don't like snakes. So that's how the name, it became Rattlesnake Park. It was infested with rattlesnakes. And as proof, I could find the picture of my father. He killed a rattlesnake that was taller than him, and he's holding the rattlesnake just like that. And it's long and lingering and scary and nasty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ms. Harris, for that suggestion. Really appreciate that. All right, very good. If there are no other public comments, General Manager comments, please.
All right, thank you, President Gross. We do have a few items, but I'll try to be mindful of time. I'm going to turn it straight over to Linda and let her lead us on an update we wanted to share with you related to OUC 100, a century of reliability. Linda, it's all yours.
Clint, you didn't say enough. No, I was ready for you to go a little on. I know you're excited about this one. I certainly am. I am the bearer of good news today. So again, President Gross, Commissioners, Mayor Clint, I am excited to update you on a few activities we have going on with OUC's 100th year celebration, also known as OUC 100. You can certainly see part of our hardware here in front of you. You'll see some more images of it as I talk through a few key historic milestones that we have recently passed. I'll fill you in on those, as well as recap all kinds of ways that we are going to be honoring these 100 years of service to our community. You should have already seen your OUC 100 pin. I see some of you have it on already, as well as the first of 3 special OUC 100 updates that will be publishing throughout the year. So enjoy those, wear your pin proudly. On page 2, you can see OUC traces our roots back to a group of companies that provided the original electricity that illuminated lights in downtown Orlando, as well as companies that delivered water and ice to the community. On June 19th, 1923, the Florida legislature established Orlando Utilities Commission after John M. Cheney, who was the owner of the Orlando Water and Light Company, the first power and water plants, proposed that a municipal utility own and operate the facilities, that bonds be issued, which would allow the citizens of Orlando to purchase the utility, then turn them over to the newly formed OUC to provide electric and water service. I know that was kind of a lot, but that is how we were first created. Thus, OUC was founded as a municipal utility commission, with the mission being to serve affordable and reliable electric and water services to the citizens and businesses of the city of Orlando. So about a week later, on June 25th, 1923, OUC held its first commission meeting. And don't you kind of wonder what that was like and how similar that might look to today? A lot has happened since then. It's really difficult for us to really capture all of those important moments and all the things that have marked that century of reliability, but we certainly have strived to do so. We are working efficiently to leverage all kinds of existing events and activities that we do throughout the year annually and make them a little more special, but also adding a few new things along the way. So here on page 3, we begin to show a few things that we've been doing already, beginning with the charity golf tournament in February. You started seeing a few elements of OUC 100 start making their way in. Others, things like newsletters, our websites, and our ads. We started starting to noting the OUC 100. You might have already seen some of these things too. Again, the sign has been making its way around town. You can see it in the upper left there at the lineman's competition, the lineman's rodeo back in March, as well as the IOA 5K. They're on the T-shirt, Lake Eola, Earth Month celebration in April, and even the Women's United Way luncheon event. So there's a lot of work that has already happened behind the scenes, and it has really been truly awesome to see it start making its way into the things that we're doing. So on page 4, you can see that on June 26th, Mayor Dyer in the city of Orlando proclaimed it OUC 100th Anniversary Day. So we were truly honored by this recognition by the city. It was particularly fitting since the city of Orlando has been by our side, has been our partner every step of the way since 1923. Working together, we've been able to improve the lives of all of those that we serve today and for generations to come through investments in electrification and our commitments to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Not to mention that we really participated so well during the hardships during COVID-19 that pandemic was so difficult, and we were able to provide our customers with assistance and for those who really needed it most. It takes the dedication, the vision, the ability to innovate, and of course, the thousands of employees that have come before us, those that are here with us now, all focused on our customers and our community and truly doing the right thing. That is what's required to reach 100 years and for OUC to have this ability to celebrate. So therefore, it's only fitting that we're focusing those communications truly on our on our employees. So speaking of employees, on page 5, you'll see on the right-hand side of the page is a very cool example of how we are highlighting customers, or employees. I keep saying customers. Employees really are coming first in all of this. These are images of James Livingston, who is our longest tenured employee at 44 years. So his story and all kinds of other employee stories you'll be able to see at our OUC 100 microsite. They'll all be published there. It's a very special way to show what our employees have done over these years. So the microsite, our blog, social media highlights, all will be ways that we'll be commemorating these things. Now moving on to our customers' employees. We are highlighting these as well. You can see these here on page 6. Our partners, our customers, particularly, they've trusted us to not only provide our electric and water services to them, but over the years we've added new innovative solutions, things like chilled water, energy efficient lighting, floating solar, EV infrastructure charging solutions. So companies like GOA, Lynx, Universal, Orlando Health, just to name a few. I could truly go on, but they've been wonderful partners, and we are highlighting.
Got it.
Question?
He's dropping off.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, sorry guys, thank you.
Nope,
Thank you. He's heard this before, so it's okay. He's talked about it too, which is great. But it's wonderful to be able to celebrate with them. There's also some wonderful videos with them commemorating OUC on our OUC 100 website as well. We're promoting our partners also that have helped and supported us, like the United Way of Central Florida, the Orlando Science Center, that provide programs that assist our customers and educational opportunities that, again, point our customers back to these things, all the ways that we can serve them. Speaking of partnering, on page 6, I guess I don't need to say that anymore, but partnering other ways with the community, we're really specifically excited about our joint community exhibits that highlight our key partnerships. Here you can see the past, focused with the Orlando History Center, very appropriately. Our present, which will be celebrated with the Orange County Public Library System, also celebrating 100 years, and the future, appropriately, at the Orlando Science Center. So it's really wonderful to have our partners honoring this time with us too. If it looks like a lot, commissioners, it is, but rest assured, we are the masters of recycling and reuse of all of these community assets. We will do so over and over again throughout the year, but also for years to come. I do want to give a very special thank you to this team of 17 people. This is our OUC 100 committee. They've been incredibly dedicated and engaged in helping us to ideate the things that we're doing throughout the year and just be very passionate in supporting their teams, but all of OUC in our community. So these are employees and retirees from every department across OUC. So we're very, very fortunate to have employees and retirees so dedicated to putting in this extra time really to make this year so special. You know, a milestone like this is incredibly significant. The opportunity to create this connection between our employees of the past and our employees of today, our community and customers of the past, our employee and community customers of today. It's very special, truly only happens that once in a century. And last, commissioners, it would certainly not be possible without all of you playing the role that you play. You help us look ahead to the next century, and you come and you serve every day. So we thank you for that. All of us should be proud of the role that we're playing, because we're on this journey together. Both individually and collectively, we're working to help OUC propel Orlando and Central Florida forward. We'll continue to do just that. We've done it for 100 years. We'll do it for 100 years more. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. I think we should applaud. That was nice. That was good. Thank you.
Questions?
All right. Any other comments?
Yes, a couple, I'll be real brief here. Thank you, Linda, for that. Do we have one of these for the commissioners, or Linda, is that for everyone or just the room? That's right, as well as the sign up here. I do have a slide. I'm just, while the slide's teeing up, was going to give a brief overview to the commissioners on our leadership forum and our town hall meetings. Our leadership forum meetings, essentially we occur twice a year. We're focused on managers, directors, and up. We get together to talk about strategy, the organization, the direction. Sometimes we've done volunteer events. Sometimes we have some team building events. So we recently completed our leadership forum on May 11th. You can see some photos of that on the left side. And of course, you got the OUC 100 and all the leadership team there together. Again, it's a great time to get together with people and really talk about the direction, the strategy of the organization. I wanted to highlight that was really the kickoff to 14 additional meetings in the town halls. And so over the course of about 5 weeks, I think it was, we were out there, myself and many other leaders here that are smiling, and it was a great thing for our employees. We hit all 4 facilities: Stanton, Pershing, Gardenia, and of course Reliable Plaza here. We spent about 2 hours with the employees. There was obviously an opportunity for Q&A, but we were intentional about talking about our strategy, the drivers in our strategy, what our vision is, and why we're doing the things that we're doing. I think what's really important about this approach that we did this year, and we've done a variety of different approaches in the past, but we're doing it in a 2-part series. You can only sort of sit down in a chair so long, especially when you're talking, again, all levels of the organization are a part of these. So this part was 2 hours, and then each of the leaders are going to have their own sort of town hall meeting related to their group, and ultimately just continue to drill down to help the frontline employee understand, what does this really mean to me? How am I impacting the vision of OUC and the strategy? So again, we're going to do it in 2 parts. They were great. There was a lot of heavy lifting done over that 5-week period. So I'm looking at this, couple rows here. I just want to thank everyone for their time, their effort. We had early morning meetings to assist our operations personnel, and some days we had 3 in one day. A lot of effort and coordination, I think, by Linda and Janice and their team with setting these things up, and the AV, and it's a big lift. A lot of admins helped make sure there was some food, snacks for folks too. But they're really important, and we got some great feedback from our employees, and I think it's critical that the employees are part of the journey. They need to understand why we're taking the steps that we're doing and the change that's going on in our organization. So again, very excited about it. I'm glad it's done. I'm glad we did it, and we'll certainly do them again at some point. I'm looking at the team here. So I wanted to give you a brief update on that. Lastly, I'll just say, want to welcome Mike Murtaugh, our new CTTO here at OUC. So there's Mike. Why don't you go ahead and just stand real quick, and we'll say hello and welcome. Mike comes to us with over 25 years of experience. He's been, a chief technology officer in other organizations. He's got deep understanding of operations and strategy, and of course IT. He's going to lead our strategy within the organization. He's really going to help us with the innovation side and really just a culture of transformation, right, as we continue to think about the change that's going on in our industry. So couldn't be more excited to have Mike. He's already been with us a couple months. We were fortunate enough to put together a transition plan to give him a couple of months to not have any direct reports, to not have any agenda items. And that came to the help of Mindy and Linda, and as well as Ken Zambito. They were holding down those areas while we were working to hire Mike, and then they did it for a couple months to really give Mike an opportunity to transition. That's changed effective yesterday. Mike now has his entire department and teams together. And so Linda and Mindy are very happy to get focused back on their teams. Ken Zambito will continue to help us transition while Letitia works with Mike to get our vice president over in the digital technology area that will ultimately assist Mike. But we're glad to have him. Welcome aboard, Mike. We know you're going to do some great stuff for us, and I just wanted to highlight you here for the commissioners today. So,
welcome.
Nice meeting you, Mike.
Welcome.
That's all I have today, commissioners. Thank you for your time.
All right, very good. Commissioner comments? Mayor's off the phone, so maybe I'll just start down here.
Okay, well, because we got, so many things happening at this meeting, but a very good budget presentation to you and the staff. Like I said, it was simple, but it was very good, very good. As always mentioned, 65 years of OUC service, and probably some employees didn't want to be recognized in person. Usually happens, so that's fantastic there. Congratulations. Linda, on the 2 awards, the Most Trusted Brand Award out of 101 utilities, fantastic, and also the second award. And OUC 100, we have to really promote that because that doesn't happen every day.
It's great, thank you.
Oh, I'll just echo what Commissioner Calvert just said. And in all the areas, I'm always excited about our community involvement, employee recognition. And we really got to highlight the employee who you said has been here 44 years at one commission meeting. We would love to have that employee here. That is awesome, amazing. And to each and every one of you, again, job well done, and you make it easy to be on the board. Thank you.
That's true. Thank you.
Just say thank you again. Great meeting. Particularly want to thank and congratulate the employees and their service awards. I always am blown away with the stories and love to see the families come along and hear about, especially today, how important it is to work for such an organization that gives you the support you need, that bets on you, that gives you the reimbursement for tuition, that allows you good insurance plans, and takes a lot of stress out of your life while also being a great employer. So thank you for sharing those. That's are very important. Thank you.
Yeah, just double on that comment. It was really great to get that feedback today on many different aspects from the 3 folks that were getting the service awards. That was beautiful. Thank you for that, Roger. I would also just add, what was going on in 1923 when folks believed in public service and getting something started here, that was pretty cool with both the library and OUC. So I'm very excited about the upcoming events too on that. And that's great. Can I talk about the ribbon cutting next week?
Sure can.
All right, so no one else did, so I will. There's a ribbon cutting next week for the first large public DC fast charging station. Fast, just think fast charging. Forget about all the acronyms I use. This is a pivotal moment for the city of Orlando and really Central Florida, because when you can get to one of these public DC fast charger stations, now there's really nothing holding you back from getting an all-electric battery vehicle. So think about that. I'm excited to use it. I know they did some testing today that was beautiful. Proved the station was really great. I can't wait to use it myself. And I'm going to point out something just like inside baseball. What sets this station apart from many other public stations is that OUC is acting as the first responder when there are trouble codes at the station. This doesn't happen at most stations out there, a utility backing a station, and this is what sets it apart, and that's how we're going to attack the problem with the reliability of public charging stations. I'm on my soapbox right here, I'm very sorry. But this is such a problem out there, and it's going to become an even greater problem as more and more people that aren't technology adopters, at the onset. These are people like you and me that think carefully about what car we get, and it's really time for me to make this change. They've got to be able to count on these stations. So I'm more excited than you can imagine about that station opening up next week. So thank you for everything that's happening here. Thank you for understanding the problems that are in the market, and I'm looking really forward to seeing that in action. And if there are no other comments.
We will debrief the commissioners in August on this program. That's a sneak preview, but I don't want to take away from some storytelling we are going to share in August about the project and how it's going, for sure. But I know the president was excited. I'm excited too, but we're going to talk more about it in August too. So
I'm going to tell everybody about this.
That's right.
All right. Without objection, the meeting is adjourned at 4:10 p.m. Thank you, guys.